Hi, welcome to Matt Holman Golf. I thought we'd take a look at Ben Hogan today, widely regarded as the best ball striker of all time and really one of the greatest players of all time. Um, let's have a little look at his action. Unfortunately, the footage isn't the best. It was sort of before the era of these high-speed cameras, but um, let's have a look anyway. So let's start on the left-hand side. So I think one thing Ben Hogan's known for, his book, The Modern Fundamentals, was most probably the first real great instructional book. That may be a little bit unfair. There were some other good ones beforehand, but I think it's got to be the most read instruction book, I would have thought. So one thing he used to talk about was in his early days he tended to hook the ball a lot. And so he developed an action around that to actually end up sort of hitting a power fade. So he sort of built in a few sort of movements to allow him to hit this fade consistently. So one was he had his right hand very much on top. Unfortunately, the footage on the left-hand side here is not on the right-hand side, so it's not really clear enough to see that. But he would talk about the V, or the line between the thumb and the index finger on his right hand, pointing at his chin. Now, in modern instruction, that would be classed as quite what we call a weak position. So, in terms of that, it would help to get the club face more open. So that's what he was actually trying to create. So he's trying to create and feel a slight cup in his wrist at the top and feel like this club hangs downwards more, because he used to get this club too shut. And especially where, if we look at his golf swing, guys like McAgrady, their sort of swing method is built around Hogan as a model, and you're not really going to get a much better or straighter hitter from tee to green, so maybe it's not a bad model to copy. So, really nice first move, legs quite straight, if not very straight at address, which I like, and quite an upright spine angle. That's going to give him a relatively flat shoulder plane, and that's why everything tends to move around him a little bit. But really good looking halfway back position here. A lot of guys would maybe coach and teach the arms to be a little bit more in the centre of the chest, but if you look at guys like Hunter Mahan and Justin Rose and even Tiger to a point, they're going to be there. And also there's an instructor in America, Mike Bender, Mac O'Grady, they're teaching this as their model, which I don't think there's anything wrong with at all. There's lots of ways to do this. So, and then at the top, I think the nearest one to I see swinging like this in the modern era is someone like Garcia. So Sergio creates lots of lag in his swings. His arm plane is relatively low at the top, but not as low as Hogan. You can see the club head there, even though it's not overly clear, he's looking left of the hands. I like this. So as a fader, I was always taught, at the top of the swing, let's get the club head left of the hands. It's much more likely to allow everything to come out in front of you on the way down. So even though he's relatively low and flat there, sort of matching or slightly under his shoulder plane, club head's a little bit left of his hands. Now he starts to come down. By this point here, I think that's as good as anyone in the modern era. It looks absolutely fantastic there. So, club shaft is back out in front of him. Knee action is where we want it. Great body angles. And then this is where Hogan's movement is really, there's been no one better throughout history. Great looking delivery. Impact, retains his body angles fantastically well, and keeps his hands relatively low through the ball, which we like to see. The nearer you can keep that shaft angle to the original angle it was at address, the more consistent the ball striking will be. So, and then he really works as he's this fader, so he sort of works from in to in. So from this position here, he's going to have to, he lets everything fall, and he's going to have to swing left hard now. to hit his cut. I mean, great looking position there, and then everything's going to work just under that armpit, real passive release, and then through to a classic finish position. So from this view, you know, it really looks really dynamic, really powerful, great hip turn, great shoulder turn, everything's loading full, and then look at the amount of lag he gets. I mean, it's really like a whip. He's just got a nice light grip pressure. In his book he writes maybe 13 pages about the grip. He felt that was pretty much the most important thing in golf. So he has this great lag and great transitional sequence. You can see that the club shaft nearly, well, looks like it's nearly catching his shoulder, so he's got so much lag there. But great looking delivery, and then just unloads that classic looking impact, and everything keeps moving through.